There is a quorum. I call to order the meeting. In the 2026 legislative session, as at the last meeting, we have approved 8 items with a total funding amount of $43,558,300,000. On today's agenda, there are 3 papers to discuss. All 3 are funding proposal rolled over from the meeting on the 3rd of June. The 3 funding proposals involve a total funding amount of $3,667,100,000. Subject to the approval of all funding proposals, the number of accumulated items approved will be 11, with a total funding amount of $47,225,400,000. Excluding the block funding of $22,747,700,000 for land acquisition and capitalization program, the total funding amount for works projects is $24,477,700,000. I remind members, if you have any direct or indirect pecuniary interest concerning the items discussed today, please disclose the nature of such interest according to Rule 83A of the Rules of Procedure before you speak. I'll also bring to your attention Rule 84 of the Rules of Procedure concerning voting on matters in which you have direct pecuniary interest in. We will move on to item 3 of the agenda. 202 TB Lifts and Pedestrian Walkway System between Lai King Hill Road and Lai Chou Road, Kwai, Chung. Please refer to paper PWSC 2026-7, number 6. Those of you who would like to speak, please press the Request to Speak button. The paper invites members to upgrade project 202 TB to Category A at an estimated cost of $188.4 million in money of the day prices. The administration has consulted the panel on transport concerning the proposal on the 27th of April this year. Members generally supported that the administration submits this funding proposal to the subcommittee for our consideration. The reports of the salient points of the panel's discussion has been sent to members by email on the 1st of June. In attendance of this item today are the government officials listed out on the agenda. Now please indicate your wish to speak. So far there are 6. So these are the members: Ms. Jovi Chen, Mr. Lam Chen Singh, Ms. Kwok Fu Yong, Mr. Ben Chen, Dennis Leung, and Hong Kam Min. The floor is open now. Each member will have 4 minutes, questions and answers included. If there's still time, there may be a second round depending on the time. The first member, Ms. Jovi Chen. Thank you, Chairman. Now, the lift tower project at Lai King Hill Road has my support. I think it is necessary. So far, there is only staircases. It is a 136 steps high staircase, equivalent to 7 levels. It's very taxing for elderly people. So the lift system will also benefit residents on Lai King Hill. Now, in the last legislative term, that is in last July, we have paid a site visit to Lai King Hill Road. We supported the program. Now, during the site visits and in the neighborhood, residents told us that they were very happy to see that the project is going to start. But sadly, an elderly person told me that they might not be able to, they might not live to see the completion of the project. So it is one of the rare projects that I urge the government to start soon. Now, it was supposed to be put on the agenda in early this year. So I hope the project can start sooner. So my question is, can we compress the 3-year-long timetable? Now it has been on the table since 2021. It has been gazetted for public consultation, and the cost is similar to comparable projects. So I don't think the FC should conduct further discussion on the item. Thank you. Mr. Eddie Lee, Deputy Secretary for Transport and Logistics. Good morning. We are very eager to complete the project as well. So we have been visiting the site together with electrical members. There are some challenges. There is a slope requiring consolidation. Now, concerning the work schedule, we have compressed it already by using MIC methods. It has kept the cost down and also compressed the timetable from 6 months to 3 months. So we know members are very eager, so we have started our work already. Please rest assured, in terms of design and the construction method, we will use the most expeditious method, for example, MIC. So Mr. Adelee's reply is the government has already compressed the timetable as best it can. Yes. I think Ms. Jovi Chan's request is echoed by residents and members. So please try and identify more room to compress the timetable, but we shouldn't sacrifice safety and quality either. Ms. Jovi Chen, any supplements? Thank you. And last year, the expected timetable was 2 to 3 years. So I hope we can complete the project within 2.5 years. I know the government has already done what it can, but let's try. Mr. Lam Chen Singh. Thank you, Chairman. I support this project. The project was conceived a very long time ago. It was given initial approval in 2009, and in 2011 there was a preliminary study. There were some challenges, some obstacles along the way, for example, private slope. In 2019, a further study was conducted. In 2021, the proposal was gazetted. In 2023, the District Council was briefed on mitigation, on the arrangements, for example, road closure. So finally, in 2026, it will start. It has spanned over 20 years' time. So many elderly people would not be benefited from this project because of the long lead time. So I wonder why it took so long. Why is there such a huge time gap between the preliminary study and the funding proposal? Are there any technical challenges? Or is it because lower priority for this project because of the government's fiscal position? We need to gain experience from this project because in the future, we want similar projects to be completed much sooner. Now, it will cost $63 million for building the bridge. Now, many footbridges have been built through the MIC method recently. So has that method been adopted? Now, can we save some cost by using MIC method to build the bridge foundation? Can that speed up the work? Deputy Secretary, thank you. I will take the first question. For the second part, I will defer to Mr. Ng. Now, since the project's conception, it took a long time for some reasons. Back in 2009, there was a ratification order for the slope. So we had to wait for the slope's owner to complete that order before we can start the project. And also, there were a lot of lift and pedestrian walkway system projects back then, so there was a queue. So that's why we are only now proposing this item. And about the footbridge and also the use of MIC, I will defer to Mr. Thank you. Mr. Patrick Yes, we are mostly using MIC methods to build the footbridge's foundation. It's quicker. Now, in the past, we had to wait until the foundation work is completed before we can build the footbridge. It would take a much longer time. Now, while we are laying the foundation, simultaneously, we can build the bridge in the MIC factories, and then we can complete the bridge overnight. So by simultaneously conducting the work, we can compress the timetable and save significant cost. So that's why we are mostly using MIC methods now. That will be the same for this project. Ms. Kwai. Thank you, Chairman. Now, the lift and pedestrian walkway system between Liking Hill Road and Lishore Road. At present, there are 136 steps, and over the past 2 decades, they have been a pain for the residents. Now, the DAB's New Territories Southwest colleagues, as well as the residents, are eager to see the project's completion. So I thank the government for giving this project priority. And I thank the government for visiting the sites together with the DAB and overcome the obstacles. So I'm very happy to see that we are now at the final stretch. So I urge all members to support this project. But concerning residents' concerns, there are 3 questions I would like to ask the administration. First, the timetable. Now, as many members have mentioned, we should finish this project as soon as possible. It would be best if we can complete it within 3 years' time. And second, the reliability of the lifts. Now, with the lifts built, accessibility will be improved significantly. However, that will not help if the lifts are always malfunctioning. So we introduce smart monitors and systems to detect mechanical flaws as soon as possible. And also, the lifts will not be fitted out with air conditioning. Now we have more extreme weather. If there are lots of passengers in the lifts, then it would be very stuffy. So in terms of ventilation and air conditioning, will the government give us a better solution? Thank you.
The first concern is about the build time. That was answered. If there's no supplement, maybe we can move on to the second and third questions. So we'll start with Mr. Eddie Lee. On the lift, there will be 2 lifts. If one breaks down, there's another one to fall back on. For lift works, there is maintenance. The contractor also has a performance pledge. If something goes wrong, they have to fix it soon. On the specific design and air conditioning as well as ventilation, Mr. Richard can tell us more. If you can, maybe you can also tell us about the use of smart monitoring devices. First, on lift reliability. We will have a smart predictive maintenance system. This system has a merit. When the lift works, the system keeps track of the lift. If a part wears down, we can replace that part ahead of time instead of waiting for the lift to break down. So that device will help. The maintenance of the lift will be entrusted to the EMSD, or Electrical and Mechanical Services Department. The EMSD will have more spare parts ready so they can go about the repair sooner instead of having to wait for the parts to arrive. On air conditioning, the height is 7 stories, not exactly a long way to go. It's a short ride in the lift. We used to install air conditioning in lifts, but then the lift will open and close its doors very often. So the cooler air does not really build up. And when you move the lift a lot, the air conditioner breaks down often. So you often end up with repairing the air conditioners instead of fixing the lift. What we do instead now is to enhance the ventilation system. We will have exhaust fans. Better ventilation also saves energy. It's more eco-friendly. That's why we opt for ventilation instead of air conditioning. If needed, we can further strengthen the ventilation system. Dr. Ben Chen. My team and I have been campaigning for the lift for years. Ms. Jody Koch and other district councilors have gathered signatures and conducted questionnaires. Successive terms of directors of highways visited the site. At the last term of LegCo, I invited my colleagues to visit the area. We tried taking the stairs. It was hard on us just to take the stairs once because it was steep. You can imagine how hard it is for the local residents. They have to take the stairs every day. I'm grateful to the Bureau and the department. The lifts are needed. Resources are strained, but we do need the lift. We finally see this proposal here so that the works can start. I'm glad to see this. Local residents look forward to the lift. Now, here's my concern. Given the long wait, we all want the lift to be of good quality. In some other districts, the lift break down easily, and the lifts suspend service all the time because of the calibration that's going on. So when we build this lift tower, we have to be extra careful. We have to get the testing, the materials, and the workmanship right. We want lifts that can actually work. So I hope the government can pay extra attention to this. Now, during the construction, we want to bear in mind that Licking Hill Road is a busy road. How do we sort out the traffic? Will we close certain lanes? Or are we going to adopt special measures so that you can build without affecting the traffic? I would like more details on this. So 2 questions. The first one is similar to that raised by Ms. Judy Cock. It's about reliability. Let's see if there is any further supplement. And the second question is about the traffic during the construction. Mr. Eddie Lee. First, on the traffic. We are aware that Liking Hill Road is a busy road. It's a dual 2-lane road. During the works, the lanes will remain open, so the traffic will remain unaffected. I appreciate the concern about the lift, so Mr. Richard Ng can tell us more just to reassure members. We will pay extra attention to the materials, to the workmanship, and the testing. We will be extra cautious with those aspects. We will also adopt a smart predictive maintenance system so that we can detect the wear and tear in advance. When needed, we can replace the parts in advance. We will also have more spare parts in advance. That way, when a repair is needed, we don't have to wait for the parts to arrive. Repair works take time partly because you have to wait for the spare parts to arrive, and we will keep up the work. Mr. Dennis Leung. I used to be a district councilor of Kwai. I know the area. This district is special because there are many hills. It's also an aging district. For seniors, the elevated walkway and the lift will help seniors get around the area. I have some points to make. First, I have nothing to say about the geotechnical works, but on the E&M aspect, I do have something to say. In Kwai, there were lift breakdowns, and that led to lengthy suspension. So when we enter into our contract, I hope that we can secure the supply of spare parts for 8 to 10 years, and we will also need a performance pledge that the lift can be fixed within 7 days. And for the elevated walkway, can we make greater use of natural lighting so that we can use less power? The site is also close to flats. Can we have sensor-based lighting? So the lights go on only when people walk by. We don't want the lights to affect the people living nearby. Now, inside the lift, the temperature will be higher. That is because the heat dispersion is poor in the lift shaft. So can we design the lift shaft in such a way that the heat can be dispersed on top so that we can keep the temperature down inside the lift? And I also want to say that the fans are weak inside the lift. Can we have conventional fans within the lift to enhance the ventilation? Now, on the plants, on both sides of the walkway, there will be plants. I want to be more pragmatic. The plants tend to be poorly maintained and cared for, and when people walk by, they throw their litter inside the planter. Can we simply get rid of the plants to make it easier to maintain the facility? Now, cleaning for the top of the walkway is also an issue. Can we have some sort of safety device so that workers can clean the top of the walkway safely? Mr. Eddie Lee. Mr. Richard Ng can tell us more. Thank you. Mr. Leung raised 5 points. I will respond to them one by one. First, on the electrical and mechanical works. Can we have extra spare parts? As I said, we will do that. The EMSD will repair the lift, so we can talk to the EMSD about stepping up work on this front. Now, on the lighting. the closest housing estate is Yutlai Court. So the elevated walkway is roughly on the same level as the podium of Yutlai Court. So the second floor of Yutlai Court is already above the bridge. We use the regular tubes on the walkway, so there will not be glare for the residents. Of course, we will make sure that we use a proper source of light. On the use of sensors, we can explore the idea, but that may not be acceptable to the public. Many people will take the bridge so the lights will go on and off all the time. On the point about temperature, we will have insulated glass. We used to have glass all over, even on the ceiling. Now, we try to reduce the use of glass, so part of the structure will be concrete. The ceiling will not be glass. It will be an aluminum cover, so that will insulate part of the heat. On ventilation, we will pay attention to that. On cleaning the area on top of the bridge, we are aware of that. We will have a hook. There will be railings for workers to get on top and clean the area. We will cater to that. On the plans on both sides of the bridge, we have to strike a balance. We want the bridge to look nice. There will be greenery, but not much. We will choose plans that are easier to maintain. On whether people will litter in the planters, we will work with the FEHD on stepping up the cleaning. Mr. Hong come in. I support this project about the lift and pedestrian walkway between Liking Hill Road and Licho Road. That area has been calling for such a facility for a long time. The facility will make life easier for seniors and those with mobility impairment. The paper does not say there will be any green or conservation devices. Can we install solar voltaic panels as an extra source of power? We will build 2 lifts. How big will be the lift? Local residents welcome lifts, but some lifts are too small. 1 wheelchair gets in, and then the lift cannot fit in any other person. Or you push a cart inside and then no one else can get in. So I wonder how many people can fit into each lift. Can we have bigger lifts so that you can fit in more people? For the cleaning of the bridge, that will be entrusted to the relevant department. But then emergency repairs or cleaning may be needed. Would there be a phone number for people to contact the department so that they can send cleaners? Thank you. On the nuts and bolts of the design, Mr. Richardson. Thank you. On energy conservation or green devices, we explored solar voltaic panels. There is the Yutlai Court nearby, and then there are also hills nearby. So that limits the insulation reaching the site. So we do not plan to put the panels there at this point. But if it turns out that panels can work, we can possibly put the panels there. Now, on the size of the lift, there will be 2 lifts. Each lift will be enough to fit in 21 people. So you can have 42 people in 2 lifts at a time. That should be enough to cope with the number of people using it. On the third point, cleaning. Can we put a hotline there? Yes, we can. But here's what I think. The daily cleaning will be performed by the FEHD, the Highways Department. We also clean the bridge every 3 months. That should be enough. But if something happens, let's say there is dirt, people can call 1823. 1823 will let us know right away, and then we will deal with that. So that will be the most straightforward and fastest way to do it.
Thank you, Administration, for your reply. I have a follow-up question. There are lots of footbridges in Hong Kong without photovoltaic panels on top. So can we consider adding those panels on all bridges in Hong Kong? That's a policy question. I think Mr. Richard has mentioned that cost effectiveness is a concern for each project. So if it is cost effective, the administration would consider installing photovoltaic panels for the bridges to reduce energy consumption. Deputy Secretary, I thank Mr. Hong for this suggestion. Concerning the photovoltaic panels, usually footbridges are located near housing estates and they are rather small in sizes, so there is less space for installing photovoltaic panels. However, for larger footbridges with more contact with sunlight, we will install panels on them. Ms. Christine Fong. Chairman, I support the lift and pedestrian walkway system between Liking Hill Road and Laicho Road, Kwai Chung. Now, the cost is $188.4 million. It has been on the list for a very long time. It was one of the 18 upper slope projects back in 2009. So we have been doing that for 2 decades. So how many projects remain among the 18 uphill projects? It has been 2 decades long. So concerning public works, there will be a 26-meter tall lift tower on Liking Hill Road. Each lift will carry 21 persons. There will be 2 lifts. So simultaneously, 42 passengers can be brought uphill. So since the government is able to overcome the obstacles for such a challenging project, can we start the other projects as soon as possible? I think Ms. Christine Fong's questions are more suitable for the panel, but I will still invite a reply from the government. But concerning the 18 uphill projects, 9 have been completed and commissioned. 2 are in progress. And for the other hillside escalator projects, we are conducting survey and study. Considerations include the geographical characteristics as well as financial situation. Now for the Kwai Chung project, there is a 136 steps and it is 7-story high. Now for Chung, there is a section on the hillside where there is 186 steps. So my question is the one in Chung the only one left among the hillside escalator projects? I think today we should focus on the lift and pedestrian walkway system between Liking Hill Road and Laicho Road. Now, Ms. Christine Fong's question was in relation to the Chung district. So I think it is best to leave the question for the panel on transport. I think it is more suitable if we focus on the feasibility, design, and the cost of this project. Thank you, Chairman. Now, concerning the lift project in Kwai, I support it. I hope the project will start soon, and I urge the government to consider expeditious commissioning of other projects. Now, you will use grade S690 steel bars to strengthen the structure. It is a 450-meter long footbridge linking up the Laicho Road. So I think it is very mature in terms of technology and cost. So I hope the government can be more proactive in considering other projects. I will give the administration some time to reply, because whether the reinforced steel bar is used, that question has been raised in the panel. Thank you, Chairman. Now that's S690 and 960 grade bars. So in considering whether we would use those kinds of steel, we would consider the suitability for the projects. Now for S690, it's mostly for highway works, including noise barriers. Those projects would require large amount of steel. If we can use S690 grade steel, it can make the structure lighter and stronger. Now for ordinary footbridges, the cost effectiveness may not be as high as the other large-scale highway projects. Mr. Aaron Bock. Thank you, Chairman. I definitely support this project. Hillside escalators are good. So I hope the TLB can allocate more resources to build escalators. Like Ms. Christine Fong said, there are still a lot of similar projects on the list. So in the 5-year plan, I hope you will set a goal to complete all hillside escalator projects. Mr. Aaron Bock, I advise you to stick to either Cantonese or English. A mixed use of language would give the interpreters a hard time. Thank you, Chairman, for your reminder. Now, some members asked questions about air conditioning. So the structure will comprise both concrete and glass. So it seems that the concrete side will face Liking Hill Road to the west. Is that the case? So I think the consideration is sunlight. Now about the column in the middle. It's closer to Liking Hill Road rather than Laicho Road. So from a structural point of view, it looks imbalanced. So have you tried putting the pillar at other location? Is that the most cost-effective way? Mr. Richard Ng. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Bock. About the lift. Now, according to the impression, there will be a side which is made of concrete. Actually, the buttress is made of concrete and steel. So the buttress would be concrete with steel and glass above. And actually, accurately speaking, it's not entirely glass. It is composite. I'm just saying that you should use concrete on the western side. Yes, we'll bear that in mind. Now concerning the pillar, in the middle, whether we can adjust its position. There are several considerations. It's rather complicated. Now we think this design, the current design is the best. Now the access on Light Show Road is closer to Choyu Estates and the other housing estates. Now we would like to refrain from cutting the slope. Now the other access is the best option because it will mean less cutting of the slope and closer proximity to the bus stop. Now, we have to maintain the access, so we have to locate the pillar there. Now, if we change the position of the pillar, that would increase the length of the footbridge. It is triangular shape and it would lengthen the bridges and increase the cost. And if we move the pillar upwards, then we will have to start building the bridge from the middle of the slope. Then that would pose difficulties in terms of construction materials, logistics. So I think balance the factors, we incline to locate the pillar near the Lichen Hill Road. That's the most optimized option. I thank Mr. Bok for his question anyway. Next, Mr. Lam Wai Kong. Thank you, Chairman. I fully support the proposal, and I hope the timetable can be compressed as much as possible. Now, there are several questions. First, traffic arrangements. Now, I believe you will close one lane or both lanes of the carriageway during non-peak hours, but what are the exact hours of road closure? Now, some heavy-duty vehicles will require permits to transport the heavier components to the site. And I believe that the hoisting operation will conduct during nighttime. So will there be noise and light nuisances caused to the nearby residents? Now concerning Lichen Hill Road, the challenge is to maintain all lanes open during peak hours. Now during large-scale hoisting operations, those may be conducted by the contractors during the small hours. There may be some temporary traffic arrangements, but we have conducted traffic impact assessments. We will also maintain close contact with the police and the transport department. So far, we are confident that the nuisance cost will be minimal. What about the special permits for vehicles? I will defer the question to Mr. Richard Ng. Thank you. So we may need very long trailers to transport the structure. We will apply permits for those vehicles. The contractors are aware of that. There will be sufficient time. That will not be a question in the initial parts of the construction. Hoisting operations will only come into play 1 or 2 years into the project. Now for longer trailer vehicles, since they need to navigate the corners, we may need to make some temporary adjustments to the roads. Next, Ms. Julia Lau.
Can we switch on the microphone for Ms. Lau, please? For this design, was there input from architect? Can you be clear? We did not catch your last sentence. Did architect get involved in the design? Deputy Secretary, we have a committee for the design. On that committee, there are architects. As for other projects, I believe Ms. Lau's concern is that for the architecture, the aesthetics, the design has to blend in with the district. I believe you're referring to AGABUS, the advisory committee on bridges and the associated construction. So the answer is in the affirmative. So there was no involvement of architects in the beginning. Mr. Richard. We engaged a consultant. I get it. You don't have to explain. So it was a yes or no question. The consultant works as a team. They came up with the design. They had their own architect. But on the degree of participation and how long they took part in it, I don't have the specifics at hand. The questions covered all kinds of topics: time frame, expectations, lift reliability, smart control systems, lift maintenance, traffic arrangements during the works, and also cost considerations. If there is no further question from members, I now put the item put it to a vote. Will members in favor of the proposal in paper PWSC bracket 2026-27 number 6, please raise their hands. With those against, please raise their hands. I believe a majority of the members voted in favor of the proposal. I declare the proposal endorsed. Now we vote on whether the Finance Committee should discuss the matter further. In accordance with the Public Works Subcommittee procedure, paragraph 41A, I've now put the item to a vote that this subcommittee recommends further discussion of this item, meaning the item under PWSC 2026-27 number 6. I remind members that if we agree, that means this subcommittee recommends further discussion by the FC. If this question is negatived, that means this subcommittee does not recommend any further discussion at the Finance Committee. Will those who are in favor please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I believe a majority of members voted against this question. This question is negatived. This subcommittee does not recommend further discussion the item in paper PWSC 2026-27 number 6. That concludes the discussion of this item. We thank the officials for joining us. We now move on to the next item. We now invite the officials to join us. Item 4, 888TH, widening of Yunlong Highway section between Lam Tei and Tongyan Sanjun. Members can refer to PWSC 2026-27 number 7. Members who would like to speak on this item can press the request to speak button now. We welcome the officials joining us for this item. This paper recommends upgrading AAATH to Category A at an estimated cost of $1.5499 billion in money of the day prices. On the 15th of May this year, the administration consulted the panel on transport on this item. The panel supported the submission of the proposal to this subcommittee for consideration. The gist of the panel's discussion was forwarded to members for reference or by email on the 1st of June. Joining us for this item are the officials who are named on the agenda. 10 members are waiting to speak. I will read out the order so that members can get ready. Mr. Dennis Low, Mr. Won Kit, Mr. Aaron Bok, Mr. Ray Wong, Mr. Lam Chen Singh, Mr. Mark Chong, Mr. Robert Lee, Mr. Andrew Lam, Mr. Chen Pui Lo, Ms. Christine Fong, Mr. Holden Chow. 11 members. Let's do 4 minutes for each member. Question and answer inclusive. Mr. Dennis Low. This project is necessary. That's because of the northern metropolis. Widening the road will ease the traffic congestion. My first concern is that in recent years, we use bitumen for the paving of roads. We get heavy rainfall. But then bitumen is vulnerable to rainwater. So I wonder, can we adopt paving material that is more resistant to rainfall? When we get heavy rainfall, the paving flakes off. So can we use tougher material for paving? Even with the road widening, the worst congestion happens in Lam Tay. So on the Lam Tay side, can we do something to ease the congestion over there? Otherwise, widening here will not make the traffic smoother. Mr. Adley. Mr. Tony Yao can tell us about the paving. On the point about traffic, we note the concern. We'll have to go ahead with this widening project. On the sections elsewhere along the highway, there are other arrangements such as for the roundabout. My colleagues from the Highways Department can tell us about that in a moment. Now over to Mr. Tony Yao. Thank you. I thank Mr. Leung for his support. The bitumen technology is advancing quickly. On the 1st of April last year, for all new roads, we have adopted a new kind of bitumen. It is resistant to aging and wear and tear. It can also help with draining. Yunlong Highway is an expressway. Now when it's draining, it's performing better. For highways, you don't want water on it. Bitumen technology is advancing. We will keep an eye on the latest design. If there's a latest kind that suits our purpose, we will adopt that. Mr. Stephen Lee from the Transport Department. Now on the connection between Yunlong Highway and the Tuen Mun Highway. For northwestern New Territories, there were other transport facilities such as Route 11. Yunlong Road near Tuen Mun Road is where Route 11 will be. Some of the traffic will take Route 11. So that will see the easing of the transport. No follow-up? Mr. Won Kit. This project supports the development of the northern metropolis, so I support this. So my question has to do with the road capacity. So have we taken into account the traffic demand for the home show queue over the next 20 years? We've been calling for greater use of technology for roadworks. So we will widen the road so that it becomes a dual 4-lane carriageway. The road will be wider, but the traffic will also grow. We will install the latest generation of traffic management and surveillance system. Indeed, this project is being taken forward to support the Northern Metropolis. We have considered the future development of the NM. In that area, there is Kwai, Yunnan South. The population intake will happen around 2038 or 40. We have factored in these developments. The stress test has incorporated the impact of future development. On the use of smart technologies, we are widening only part of the Yunnan Highway for this project. We have made allowance for future infrastructure, so that means display panels and gantry gate. When we need the real-time monitoring technology, we will be able to retrofit those devices. Mr. Aaron Bock. I declare an interest. I'm the director of a one-man consultancy. I'm also the non-executive director of 2 engineering companies. I'm looking at paragraph 8. Road and associated works, item A, that's $774.5 million. C, noise barriers, that would cost $420 million. That means more than half of the construction costs will go into noise barriers. My long-standing concern is that can we have fewer noise barriers? Those barriers cost a lot. So what steps have we taken to reduce the use of noise barriers? Have we considered low noise asphalt? Some new ones can reduce the noise by 8 or 4 dBA. I'm not saying we should use it now, but I think we should talk to the EPD about this. That should be our future direction. By 2031, the project will be completed. The VC ratio will be 0.8. But with the development of the Northern Metropolis, the VC ratio may reach 1 or go above 1. We should use smart traffic control system. We should make the most of the road shoulders. During off hours, we should open up the road shoulder during the rush hours. So do we have the lane control signal system? Do we also have variable speed limit signs? Thank you. Deputy Secretary, I will briefly comment on noise barriers and then Mr. Tony Yao can take over. We reduce the noise at source. So that means if there's anything we can do with the asphalt to reduce noise, we will do that. Now, on whether we are over-designing or we're going overboard with the noise barriers. So we have done tests and we will use strong materials. The director can tell us more and then we will come to the point about the traffic. Mr. Tony Yao.
Thank you, Chairman. I thank Mr. Bock for his support. Now, in terms of noise barrier, we have adopted 2 measures to reduce the cost. First of all, we have made a model in the laboratory to calculate the wind load for the noise barriers. So we have tailor-made the noise barrier to reduce the wind load. And also we will use grade S690 steel. It has 20 to 30% more loading capacity compared with other steel. It will make the foundation and the structure itself lighter. So we have already achieved some cost saving for the noise barriers. It accounts for 27% of the total cost of the project. Now concerning smart highway. Now link control signal will be a feature for the road and for variable information panel and also variable road sign or speed limit sign. They will also be available. Now, if we erect the support for the signboards after the commissioning of the road, that will be more difficult. So we will complete those during the project. Mr. Ray Wong, I support the project, but I echo Mr. Bok's view that the cost for the noise barriers is rather high. Now, depending on transport with the low noise raw material, we can lower the noise by 3 decibels. However, the steelwork in the foundation must be very strong in order to withstand the wind load. So would the government consider using composite materials that is widely used in the mainland to enhance the noise reduction from 3 decibels to 5 decibels? And can we also achieve some cost saving in terms of pillar driving? Now, I am against using fully transparent noise barriers because that would come with a very high cost. Now, for non-aesthetic sensitive section of the road, can we adopt the traditional plastic barriers? Now, for some cantilever style noise barriers, you will use S690 steel. But can we further enhance the arrangement? For example, completing the assembling in the mainland so as to avoid damages caused by assembling on site. 3 questions. I thank Mr. Ray Wong for his support. Mr. Ray Wong's suggestions are very professional, and many of the suggestions have been adopted by us. Now, concerning the HMSMA, that's the highly modified stone mastic asphalt we are using, we can already achieve a noise reduction level of 3 decibels. Now, laying of asphalt is something to be done at a later stage. Now, we will be happy to use asphalt which are water resistant and with a high noise reduction level. Now, we can adopt other measures to achieve further 4 to 6 decibels of noise reduction. Now, with the wind tunnel testing we have conducted, we find that the noise barriers do not need very deep foundation. Now, this section of the road is mainly landfilling in nature. So the noise reduction part of the project accounts for 27%. For other comparable projects, it's 16 to 70%. So we are already at the lower end of the standard. Now, concerning noise barriers, the transparent materials we are used are coated with a layer of anti-jam material, so it will require less cleaning. Mr. Lam Chen-Sing, thank you. Concerning the VC ratio, by 2031 with the widening project, the VC ratio can be lowered to 0.8. So that's great. However, with the developments of the Northern Metropolis and other major roads, there's the Twin Moon Bypass and Route 11, those projects will be commissioned only in 2033. So before those two roads are completed, and when there are more vehicles, are you still confident that you can lower the VC ratio to 0.8 by 2031? Now, with the commissioning of Route 11 and the Twin Moon Bypass, what will be the impact on the VC ratio for this section of the road? Now, you're widening the section of Tongyan Sanshun to a 4-lane carriageway. Now, for the section near Kwai interchange, the road will be narrowed to 3 lanes. Now, the Kwai section, the Kwai interchange is the most busy junction. When there are more vehicles and when there is a narrowing of the road from 4 lanes to 3 lanes, will create a bottleneck effect and cause congestion there. And finally, I'm quite interested in the noise barrier. Now, you have entrusted the BTRI for constructing the noise barrier. Now, the BTRI is a self-financing organization. They will charge you for a fee. So in the future, you may entrust more projects to the BTRI. So what's the arrangement in terms of procurement and tendering? Thank you. I will take the first 2 questions. The widening project of the Yuen Long Highway will address a part of the problem in the long run. However, the long-term connectivity between the Northern Metropolis with the urban area and Twin Moon will require other projects. Now, before the Twin Moon Bypass project is completed, there are other projects concerning Minkum Road and Long Moon Road to alleviate the traffic pressure on Wangshu Road and the urban-bound section of the Twin Moon Highway. Now, with our traffic light management system, it seems that the situation has improved. Transport Department, Mr. Lee. We will leave the financial matter to the end. Chief Engineer, Mr. Lee. Thank you, Chairman. Concerning the VC ratio, now, geographically speaking, the new developments in Yuen Long are along the sections where there will be road widening projects. So the population intake will take place gradually. So we expect that by 2031, the VC ratio will be increased to 1.1. If we do nothing, it will become 1.3. So we hope that these projects can be completed by 2031 to cope with the increased traffic demand. Now, concerning the Tongyan Sanshun to Kwai road section, the area is already developed, so the expected increase in traffic demand is not great. So the main routes of the highway can already deal with the demand. With the completion of Route 11, there will be a diversion effect as well. So for the next stage, we will continue to focus on other road projects in New Territories Southwest. Mr. Yao concerning the financial arrangement with the Building Technology Research Institutes, BTRI. Now, to conduct wind tunnel test, we need a recognized and accredited laboratories. So the BTRI has conducted an open tendering exercise to identify labs to conduct the wind tunneling test. Mr. Mark Chung, thank you. The noise barriers caused some 27%. Among the total is rather high. Now in Kwai in the future, there will be a 50 to 60 story high public housing estates development. So I support the erection of the noise barrier. Now have you talked to the housing departments? If they install double glazing window with noise reduction effects on the flags, can we save the cost on noise barriers? That the recurrent expenditure, how much of them will be spent on maintaining the noise barriers? Now you said you will maintain the same number of lanes during the project. So does it mean that you will narrow down each lane to maintain the same number of lanes? If that's the case, yes, you have maintained the same number of lanes, but the speed will be lowered. Now for narrower paths, I can only travel at 60 km per hour, despite the sign saying 80 kilometers. So will you narrow down the width of each lane? Now the construction projects may exacerbate the congestion of the other part of the Chung Highway. So what will the VC ratio be for the other parts of the highway? Now about relocating the pipes. Now I support doing the project in one go because that would avoid repeated excavation work. Now it involves a lot of large diameter freshwater and saltwater pipes. You need to relocate and reconnect them. So we have the former director of water supplies here. So have you considered the risk in relation to pipes and what are the contingency plans? Deputy Secretary. Now concerning the technical part of the question, I will defer to the Highways Department. Concerning road closure, we understand that the Chung Highway is very busy. So as we have said, at the panel on transport, we will maintain the same number of lanes. Specifically speaking, we will create new lanes on the road shoulders. We will ensure that the width and the number of lanes unchanged to ensure the same amount of vehicles can flow through the road. Now concerning design of pipes and noise barriers. For these technical questions, I will defer to the Director of Highways. Mr. Yao. Thank you, Chairman. I thank Mr. Chung for his support. So there were several questions. First of all, recurrent expenditure is some $8.9 million. We don't have a breakdown concerning the part spent on cleaning the noise barriers. Now for maintaining the roads and structure, that's $7 million. The others are for maintaining the road lamps and other facilities. Concerning temporary road diversion, we will only do that after maintaining the same number of lanes to ensure that the widths are not changed. Now for pipes. We would lay the new pipes first and then reconnect them with the network after completion of the roadworks. It only takes one night or so to reconnect the pipes. So riding on this opportunity of the road projects, there is an opportunity for us to build a large-scale network near the river.
On public housing, if we are building public housing next to roadworks, can we talk about the cost of the double glazed glass or the noise barriers with the housing authority? So that's a policy question for future project. Mr. Tony Yao, for this project, we talked to the housing department. The new buildings will adopt insulated glass, so that will reduce the noise by 46 decibel. Next, Mr. Robert Lee. The road widening works will cost $1.5 billion. In principle, I support the project. This is a key piece of infrastructure for the northern metropolis. There will be traffic arising from the development, so we will need this road. The paper mentions that we will have to resume 21 plots of private land. That's 5,600 square meters. The land clearance and resumption will cost $71 million. The land compensation will be $63 million. I know there's an established mechanism for this. How did we arrive at the compensation? Enclosure 4 mentions the ex gratia compensation. For licensed structures and occupiers of squatters, there is this ex gratia payment. Have we conducted a survey on whether the people receiving the compensation are happy? Maybe the people affected want more payout, so I would like a response on this. Deputy Secretary. On compensation, we follow the government's mechanism. I can go over this. There were 2 tiers. The specific amount will be determined based on the established system. For Tier 1 and Tier 2, $1,700. And then there's also $2,540 for Tier 2. So these are some examples. We adopt the standard rate, and that goes for this project. We don't see a major issue with this. The land resumption has been proceeding smoothly. Local residents are happy with the amount. So you have talked to the people affected. Yes, there is an established procedure. And the people affected are happy with the amount. So nobody is not happy about this. Deputy Secretary, it's been going smoothly. Mr. Andrew Lam. The noise barriers are a concern for many members. I have read through the paper. I want to dig deeper into something in enclosure 3. We see the comparison. For the Hiram Highway, for every square meter, it's $4,800. For this project, it costs less. My question is the cost purely driven by the noise barriers? If not, to what extent is it a problem with the piling and the location? The table sets out the figures, but I want more clarity. Paragraph 7 also mentions expanding the pedestrian subways. It doesn't cost much. Now, in another project, we used a different boring machine. We saved time, and that machine also offers better safety for workers. So I wonder, how are we drilling and expanding for the pedestrian subways? Deputy Secretary or Mr. Tony Yao? So let's look at enclosure 3. We are showing a comparison of the costs. For the Yunlong Highway, we are saving money because we're using the ultra high strength concrete at 690, and for the retaining wall, we are also using a wider area for the piling, so that's for the piling. Now we are setting out the comparison with Hiram's Highway. We're setting out the cost without the piling, but for Hiram's Highway, the space is narrower. For the noise barriers and the retaining wall, if a deep pile is not needed, you will need a bigger pile. That's not possible for Hiram's Highway. The comparison here assumes no piling. We can save on the piling. That's why we can drive down the cost. For the pedestrian subway, we're widening the existing subway, so we don't have to put a boring machine there. Mr. Chen Pui-Leung. The noise barriers are a concern shared by many members because the barriers cost half the budget for the construction. Now we are adjusting the technology, so we are saving money. But I'm looking at the figures in the paper. If we remove the modifications, each square meter will cost $25,000. So where do we see the savings? You have changed the piling and adopted new design. It's still $25,000 per square meter. Where do we save the money? And for the westbound lane of Yunlong Highway, on the right, you see trees, and then there will be noise barriers. Is it because there will be flats near the westbound lane? Is that the reason for the noise barriers? If the area will not see flats, will that mean you can do away with the barriers? And that may save money. Deputy Secretary. I believe it's the language in enclosure 3 that fails to show the savings. So we're talking about how we can save in terms of the noise barriers. We can look at item B. We're showing you that for other projects involving noise barriers, if they adopt the same measures, meaning we do the wind tunnel test, we adopt the new standards, if they also use S690, you will see the adjustment. That's why you see the unit price costing between $4,800 and $5,600. So we're saving $5,000 to $6,000 on a unit basis. But maybe this table, the way the table is presented, has given rise to the member's question on the use of noise barriers. We have taken into account possible housing plans in the future. So we are not going overboard by having needless noise barriers. Any follow-up from Mr. Chen? So it's housing planned for the westbound lane. So that won't be converted into industrial uses. So that's the basis of the project. Yes. Ms. Christine Fong. This is about road widening for Yunlong Highway between Lamte and Tongyan Sanchun. So there will be 4 lanes. This is welcome development. This will link up with Route 11. This can ease the traffic. That will be good for the Northwestern New Territories and the Northern Metropolis. Now my questions. I see this comparison of costs for the noise barriers. Now we have to make sure it's an apple-to-apple comparison. Let's look at 860H Hiram's Highway Phase 2. Now it's 24,000 square meters. In Hiram's Highway costs $48,000. I know Hiram's Highway is narrow, the works are challenging, but is it really an apple-to-apple comparison? Is Hiram's Highway also using S690 steel? Now we're told about the advice from the Chinese Academy of Sciences. That's my first question. Now on the underground utilities. For the 1.2 diameter freshwater mains and the 800 millimeter seawater mains, are we saying those utilities will be in Yunlong Hachun instead of somewhere beneath the roads? If we put the utilities on the roads, the maintenance will be tough. So my question is, do we have enough land for the utilities? Now also for the precast modules. If we can use precast modules for piles, can we extend that to all other existing projects? Can we ask our contractors to use the new piles so that we can have lighter noise barriers? Deputy Secretary. On the underground utilities, I can assure the member that for the underground water mains, we will bring that in. We will put that alongside the highway or in the slopes. The member's concern is that when the utilities break, we will have to seal off the road, and that leads to traffic congestion. We will fix that. On S690. And Hiram's Highway, as well as whether we can use the new piles for existing projects. The Director of Highways can explain the point further.
Thank you, Chairman. As I've mentioned, for the Hiram's Highway, now we are making the presumption that the same can be applied to Hiram's Highway. Now, since there is little space, we need to erect the noise barriers with foundation erected. Now for S690, it depends on the height of the overall structure. Now for the Hiram's Highway, the buildings on both sides are shorter, so we don't need to erect noise barriers at the same height. So there is less need to use S690 steel. Mr. Holdenshaw. Thank you. That we are widening the Yunlong Highway to 4 lanes for the particular road section to address the developments in Yunlong South and the future Northern Metropolis. Of course, that is necessary. If you look at enclosure 1, now it is mainly in the area of Tongyan, Shenchun, and Yunlong South. However, on the right-hand side of the road, very soon there will be several massive public housing estate projects on Saiga-chun. There will be several tens of thousands of people. Further up on Longtin Road, there will be the Longtin Court, which population's intake will start soon. So I wonder if your estimation is accurate. There will be many more people moving in nearby. Is the enhanced capacity large enough to cope with the additional traffic demand brought about by the additional population? Now, when more and more public housing estates are built, will the roads be able to cope? They are very near. Now, this project can only deal with Tan Kwai Chun and Yunlong South. Just on the right-hand side of the plan, there will be several public housing estates completed soon. Now, concerning whether the project is sufficient to address the additional traffic demand brought about by nearby public housing estates, that's also a policy question which should have been asked at the panel. So today, we are focusing on the project itself. However, Mr. Chow's concern is valid because because the public may also wonder whether the cost spent on the project will be sufficient to meet the demand. Mr. Eddie Lee. Now, the planning for the Northern Metropolis is a holistic one. So this project is more urgent. We understand that there is also the issue of insufficient capacity down the road. So this is just the first step. We will start with this session. In the future, for Yunlong and Chunmun, there will be other roadworks projects proposed. So there may be more projects presented to members in the future. Next, Ms. Julia Lau. Thank you, Chairman. On many other occasions, I've mentioned the expensive cost of noise barriers. The cost should be verified by a construction material surveyor. That's a quality surveyor. Now we should make reference to the design of noise barriers in other countries. Now there are 3 examples here. There are some with very colorful design, and these designs are very characteristic. Now our noise barriers, on the other hand, are just functional, and sometimes the design is rather simple. So since we are spending so much on the noise barriers anyway, we should make them more beautiful. Now when I drove my friends from other countries to the new territories, they find the noise barriers unimaginative. They look all the same. So can we conduct a survey and study on the design of noise barriers? I know that the CDD has put in more efforts into the aesthetic side of their project, so may I invite a reply from the government? Deputy Secretary, thank you. At the panel, I've already replied to Ms. Julia Lau that I fully agree that besides the functionality of our projects, we need to make the design of our projects unique with local characteristics. So we will take into account the input of our landscape architects for the noise barriers. Thank you. Now there are two more members on the screen. They are Dr. Junius Ho and Mr. Augustine Wong. So I will seek members' views that after Mr. Augustine Wong has asked his question, we will start the vote. I will invite members to come back to the room to vote after Mr. Augustine Wong has spoken. Now we still have a third item to deal with. So after I put this item to vote, we will have a 10 minutes break. So please come back to the room to participate in the vote, as I've mentioned. Next, Dr. Junius Ho. Thank you, Chairman. Now, members have asked several questions, including noise barriers. But that's inevitable. The population in Hong Kong is large and we keep developing the city. But it seems that we are just addressing the symptoms when we build roads. Now, the Deputy Secretary said we have a holistic plan, but this one is the most urgent one. We have to deal with this first. Well, you said urgent, but this project will only be completed in year 2031. It's not that urgent, right? I don't feel this is an emergency. So you said this is already cheap and there is a holistic plan. But very often you build and then you demolish them. It costs a lot. Now with the noise barriers erected, when we drive, it feels like we are in a tunnel above ground. It's not comfortable to drive in and it is poor aesthetic. Now we already have the Tai Po highway and you are still telling me you are still pondering about the plan. Now, in $1.5 billion, you are spending $400 million on noise barriers. Of course, you are saying that you are achieving a lot of cost saving, just $20,000 per square meter. But I think the price is still too expensive. If you look at Shenzhen, we have a lot of collaborative projects with them. That includes the Hongshui Qianhai rail link. Now everything will be to a homogenized standard. So can we look at the cost of building a noise barrier in the mainland to educate the members? And also tell us what your holistic plan is. We are spending $1.5 billion here, and it will only be built in year 2031. How many roads, how many noise barriers will be built and then demolished in the future? And how much money will be wasted? Deputy Secretary, thank you. On noise barriers, like we have repeatedly explained, we have conducted a wind tunnel test to tailor-make the design of the noise barriers. There will not be a waste. Now concerning the material, grade S690 steel, it is lighter So we will need less of the materials to build the noise barriers without foundation laid. So we will be able to achieve costs for 30 to 50% of materials and 20% in cost saved. Now, since we have conducted the wind tunnel test, all the noise barriers are Y-shaped. There will not be superfluous noise barriers. Concerning wasting money to build noise barriers which will be demolished in the future, that's not the case here. Those will be permanent noise barriers. We will not be spending more money to remove them in the future. So what about Dr. Julius Ho's request? That is comparing the cost of similar noise barriers with Shenzhen. Can we provide an apple-to-apple comparison on that? Now for general works, the major difference is manpower cost and compliance cost. So that is rather difficult to make an apple-to-apple comparison. In terms of materials, our grade 690, S690 steel are made in the country as well, so the cost should be comparable. Next, before Mr. Augustine Wong speaks, I urge all members in the electrical complex that after the government officials have replied to Mr. Augustine Wong, I will put this proposal to a vote, so please bear in mind. Next, Mr. Augustine Wong. Thank you. Now, in paragraph 12b, the government said a wind tunnel test has been conducted and also S690 grade steel have been used to reduce the cost. I like that. Now, Ms. Christine Fong mentioned a point. If we can achieve such significant cost saving for this project, why don't we apply the same to other projects, even if they have been tendered out? Can we impose the standard in the contract? Now, in the past, we really did overspend on noise barriers. So even though those contracts have been awarded, can we apply the existing standard on them? Now the question is, since we can achieve so much cost saving now, can we make some adjustments to other existing contracts? Deputy Secretary. Now I need to clarify. I'm not saying that other projects are overpriced. For other projects, for each project concerning noise barriers, the room of enhancement, for example, using new and better steel, not all of them are applicable to each project. And using S690 steel doesn't mean that it is most cost effective. For smaller scale projects, the cost effectiveness is low. So we do try our best to save costs for each and every project. If there are objective conditions for applying cost-saving measures, we will do so. Can we apply the same for other projects? We will try to do so as well.
As the government has told us, the wind tunnel test was done for this project to ensure the effectiveness of the noise insulation, and then the design was enhanced. For approved projects that are at a more advanced stage, any change to the use of material may not be practical, so that's the point. Anything to add from Mr. Tony Yao? First, I thank Mr. Augustine Wong for his suggestion. if we can build faster at a lower cost for new project, if the site conditions permit, we will consider any new technology that can help us build cheaper at a lower cost. Anything to add from Mr. Wong? One quick comment. The Deputy Secretary said, in some projects, we cannot apply the new technology to the older project. That would make the table in enclosure 3 meaningless. Because the adjustment in the table will be meaningless if the new technologies could not be applied to older projects. Now we are trying to show members the comparison of different projects side by side. We try to remove parameters so that we can demonstrate an apple-to-apple comparison as much as possible. But there are limitations to how much information we can show with the table. So we are done with the first round of Q&A. A member would like to ask questions for the second round, so 2 minutes for you. I thank the officials for the reply. When new design or material comes on stream, that can change the appearance of it or the approach to a project. When you can have smaller, lighter noise barriers. Take Hiram's Highway as an example. The space is narrow. It's like the difference between a slim lady and a not so slim lady. You can see the difference. Now, if you can use S690, you can have a better retaining wall. You can build faster. Of course, it will be even better if you can lower the cost as well. Deputy Secretary, we note Ms. Wong's concern. If there's new technology, we try to apply that to future projects as much as we can. But the used material and steel very much depends on the site conditions and the scale of the project. It's about slim material versus heavy material. We should review not just future projects, but also existing projects. If the construction has not started, can we improve the material or design? This should be explored. I think the government has noted this point. Dr. Junius Ho also has follow-up questions. I want to draw the line here. For other members in the complex, please come here. Dr. Junius Ho will ask his follow-up question, and then I will put the item to a vote. 2 minutes. Some information for the government to consider. Of course, you cannot compare an apple to an orange. But if the mainland offers cheaper apples than Hong Kong does, then we should consider the mainland's apples. We opt for the cheaper options if it's available. I'm just giving you information for reference. For every square meter S690 ultra high through, I'm asking DeepSeek how much it costs in Shenzhen. DeepSeek says for Hong Kong highway, for every square meter, it's $25,000. It's very expensive. This may include a fully enclosed S690 structure, but for regular Shenzhen noise barriers, it's usually somewhere between 100 to 800 RMB per square meter. And then DeepSeek goes on to say the fiber material, aluminium, but altogether, put together the concrete and piling, that's still cheaper than $25,000. Way cheaper. That's for the Bureau to consider. So we discuss a point, we debate a point, and then we learn from it. We can learn from the mainland's experience. They are an infrastructure powerhouse. They offer a lower cost, they offer speed. We should learn from them so that we can save money. And then we can do better in serving the public. So that's information from Dr. Ho for the government to consider. I believe the government will always seek to do even better, and they have considered the costs elsewhere, and they have looked at the mainland as well. Our own railway standard is also adopting this standard we learned from the mainland, so that we can achieve better and faster results. We achieve cost effectiveness, we lower costs, we achieve greater efficiency. I think no response is needed, so it's just something for the government to refer to, and we should consider that in future projects. Thank you. If members have no other questions, I now put this proposal to a vote. Will members in favor of the proposal set out in paper PWSC 2026-27 number 7, please raise their hands. Those against the proposal, please raise their hands. No. I believe a majority of members voted in favor of the proposal. This proposal is endorsed. Now we decide whether the Finance Committee should further discuss the item in accordance with Public Works Subcommittee Procedure Paragraph 41A. I now put this question to a vote, that this subcommittee recommends further discussion of the proposal in paper PWSC 2026-27 number 7 by the Finance Committee. I remind members that if this question is agreed, that means this subcommittee recommends further discussion of this paper at the Finance Committee. If this question is negatived, that means this subcommittee does not recommend further discussion of this paper at the FC. Members in favor of the question, please raise their hands. 1. Those against, please raise their hands. I believe a majority of members voted against this question. This question is negatived. This subcommittee does not recommend further discussion of the paper PWSC 2026-27 number 7 by the FC. That concludes the discussion of this item. I thank the officials for joining us. We now move on to the next item, or rather, before doing so, I suggest a break. Let's be back at 11:05. At 5 past 11, we will get to the remaining item. Thank you.